At the time when I started working, and that was at the ripe old age of 22, I didn't really have much cognizance of the layered systemic barriers that you face in the workplace as a black woman. I'd never thought about it to that extent. I just been me and saw where I ended up with that. Now, the difference that I will say is, when I say a blessing in disguise, I mean it as in hyper awareness, in the extreme, not in the kind of general in the general awareness sense. Because on the flip side of that, I also completely can tangibly acknowledge and also tangibly calculate the financial impacts of me being unaware of that. And I'll just give one example. Because in many ways, it's being able to strike that balance. It's being able to strike that balance between awareness, hyper-awareness. Hyper-awareness can sometimes lead to overthinking, which leads to paralysis. But complete and total ignorance, as was potentially my case, which is not unaware of who I was, but unaware of the impacts of being a black woman within the workplace, definitely leads to that position that you recognize years later. I know when they talk about in the US, the gender pay gap as it relates to black women, and it's almost $962,000 over the space of 40 years. Now, even if I just do the own calculations for myself and see the trajectory and see how it has an impact on opportunity, access, and all these sorts of things, had I had a little bit more awareness, a little bit more of an understanding of the systemic barriers to systems and the social capital, all of that kind of stuff, it definitely would have put me in a better position. I don't regret any part of my decisions that have got me to today, but I have to fully acknowledge that part of my journey to today has been because of those barriers, right? So it's this thing around balancing between hyper-awareness and awareness. And I wish that I had been more aware, although at the time that it was, my lack of awareness was sometimes part of a blessing, because it did allow me to access rooms that by today's standards would be seen as very non-PC, etc., etc. And I just don't think the same opportunities would have been there. So that's the other one.